So yeah, so those are just, a handful of things that I could try to wrangle up about urban forestry. I'm sure there's other things that you deal with on a daily basis, but those are kind of the major things that I could think of. Does anyone know what this tree is? My friend in the back with the plaid shirt. You seem to know everything. It's not a Christmas tree. Is it an ash? It is. It's the green ash. So this is the guy that's getting hit by the emerald ash borer. We have about 2% overall in the state, but in some areas of Providence, it's about 20%. It's a very popular street tree. It was about 15, 20 years ago when they needed a replacement for the elms and other trees that were dying. Ash trees are fantastic, or they were fantastic until the ash borer came over and got them. Yeah?
The numbers that you just gave, are those the percentage of green ash trees in the state, or the percentage of green ash trees that are infected by the emerald ash?
No, right now we have 0% infected, but we have 2% overall. And then there is roughly, depending on what community you're in, it could be upwards to 20, 25%. It's strictly like street trees. But some...
I used to live on Elm Street till the Dutch elm disease came and wiped them all out. Then I lived on Bear Street. After that, we planted ashes. We're waiting.
There. So it's an issue we're going to have to deal with, and we're starting to deal with it now, planning as to what's going to happen. It's in Massachusetts. It's in Connecticut. There's a quarantine to stop wood traveling between the states, but it's only a matter of time.
Would you say that again?
Sure. There is a quarantine stopping wood transfer between Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut.
Does everybody get that? Thank you.
So if there is...
We might be concerned that Boy Scout troops from another state would come into Champlin with contaminated wood.
That is true.
Our quarantine area. They might. Yes.
Thank you, TJ.
You're welcome. So right now it is illegal if you have firewood from your house in Connecticut and you're going to go visit your friend in Rhode Island to bring it on your RV here. Because that's how this stuff gets spread. So the next key topic you need to learn about is understand the numerous benefits of urban and community forestry, often referred to as ecosystem services. This is a big buzzword too. What are the ecosystem services of trees and community forestry? This is, can anyone tell me what shape this is? Circle, you got it. So these are natural resources, right? And the benefits of natural resources and the drivers of change. We're all interconnected. We share, this won't be in the test, but we share 98% of our DNA with what non-human thing? A banana. We are almost 98% DNA is exactly the same as a banana, which is really cool, right? So this, if you think about that, we're almost a banana, which is kind of neat. So it lets you know that we are so connected to the environment and to trees, and that everything exists in a circle. It's not just a coincidence that we are here and that trees are here. There's a purpose to it all. So does anyone know who this is? What have you done for me lately? Janet Jackson.
They wouldn't know.
Someone might know. So these are just some of the things that trees do, right? Cooler air temperatures, lower your stress levels. If you're in a hospital and you're looking at trees, you heal quicker, right? They lower your energy costs. They're a fuel source. You can burn wood and it will keep you warm. They capture CO2, which is huge. They collect stormwater, right? We get a lot more floods nowadays because there are streets and homes.
Could that be important that could be a benefit of urban trees?
These are all benefits of trees.
Oh.
They increase your property value, all these great things. They are job creators. There are thousands of people who have jobs in Rhode Island and probably hundreds of thousands around the country because trees exist, right? Who has a job because trees exist?
You do.
I do. Thank you, trees. Right? There are arborists. There are people that work in mills. There are construction workers. You couldn't build a house without wood, right, for the most part. So when you just think about how it compounds, trees are the coolest thing in the world. They give us stuff, right? Everything. This floor doesn't look like it's made of wood, does it? What is it made of? Linoleum, right? You know what's in linoleum? Wood. Pretty cool, huh? Clothing. Some people are starting to make clothes out of trees now. And they enable us to live. If it wasn't for trees, we wouldn't be here. So I'll take a moment to think about that, right? Thank you, trees. Okay. Thank you. Can everyone say thank you, trees? There you go. Very good. So there are three broad categories of these environmental benefits, the ecosystem services, right? There are economic, social, and environmental. So economic benefits. People save across the board. Everyone saves because of trees, right? So citywide, right? If you think of trees, the amount and quality of trees influence the environment. Trees are part of the environment. Fundamentally, they are part of the environment. Plants, if they are placed in strategic places and cared for, they become living technology, right? They play a key part in our world, right? Just kind of generalized. So they have heating and cooling benefits, right? A 25-foot tree can reduce your heating and cooling costs by 8 to 12% and give you about $10 savings per American household on the average. So if you have a tree that's placed in an area that'll shade your house in the summertime and block those harsh winter winds, you don't have to turn up your air conditioning or turn up your heat. And that trees in the city provide a respite from the heat island effect, right? Everyone knows it's hotter on average in downtown Providence than it is here, just because why? Because the asphalt, there's pavement everywhere. Pavement, sucks in the heat and then just stays hot. But with trees, it'll block the sun, it'll cool the air. It's about 20 degrees cooler under a tree than it is right outside the tree. So if it's 80 degrees outside and you're in the sun, you walk under a tree. Can anyone do the math? 60, good job. Air quality. So you consume about 386 pounds of oxygen. Does anyone know where we get some of our oxygen from? Let's all say it together. Trees, right? Trees are fantastic. So a healthy 32-foot maple can give you just about enough oxygen for yourself, right? So 2 trees supply the oxygen for 1 person each year. Which sounds like, we got enough trees, we can cut a bunch of them down, right? It doesn't matter. But it's not true. So cooler air temperatures are created by the trees, which we just talked about, and they can reduce smog levels. Does anyone know how trees reduce smog levels? With the leaves, they have these things all over them. What are they called? Leaves, right? And those leaves collect all the pollutants in the air, and they keep them on them, and reduces the smog levels. Pretty good, huh? That's why that tree has a vacuum on it. It's getting all the bad stuff. All right, so if we look at Sacramento, California, mature trees, what does it say? Absorb up to 120 to 240 pounds of small particles and gases from air pollution. They call it particulate matter, right? So in Sacramento, California, this represented a value of $28.7 million just from standing there. Those trees saved the town from having to deal with all those smog and issues. And those numbers aren't just coming out of the air. They are numbers because you can, for instance, say that people that live in an area with trees are healthier. They're not going to have as many smog-related issues with their health. They're not going to the hospital as much because they lived in an area with trees that helped clean the air. They improve water quality. It says a canopy of tree absorbs rain, reduces the amount of water that will fall on a pavement and then has to go into the stormwater drainage system, right? And that there was one study that said 32 feet tall street trees intercepted runoff by 327 gallons of water per year. So 1 tree, that's about, anyone do the math on that? That's a lot of gallons of milk, right? If you think about 105 gallons of milk, we'll say, that's a lot. Retail and commercial benefits economic-wise. Survey says 74% of the public preferred to patronize commercial establishments that had parking lots and structures where there were trees, right? Everyone likes to walk through areas where they can kind of stroll around and go shopping where there are trees, right? It's better than having to deal with the hot sun and just ugly environments like that. And that landscaping added to the value of your house, right? Real estate appraisers say 86% of these real estate appraisers agreed that the landscaping added a dollar value positive, right? Better to have trees than not to have trees when you're trying to sell your house or when you're looking to buy a house. you're not just looking at the structure, but you're looking at the surrounding grounds. Same thing with residential benefits. Your home will retain its value, become more valuable, be better enjoyable for you if you're surrounded by an environment that has trees. Social benefits. So there have been numerous studies that say there is a direct correlation between the amount of trees in your community and the use of those spaces by your community, right? And then it gives you more opportunities to interact with everyone in your community. If you don't have a place to go, you won't have anywhere to go, right? That just makes simple sense. So if you have parks with trees and you have open spaces with trees, you're going to be going out there, having picnics, playing, walking your dog. And then when you're doing that, everyone else in your town is going to be doing that. And you get to meet people otherwise who would just be sitting at home on Facebook, right? And then they can, research suggests trees afford a place for neighbors to meet. And then there are less incidences of crime. If you know the people that live in your neighborhood, you're going to have a vested interest in making sure that they stay safe, right? Because you're going to be friendly with them. And you're going to be concerned when you know that they're away on vacation because you talked about their vacation in the park and you see someone walking around in their home when you know that they're not there. Crime and fear. Does anyone know who this guy is? In the back with the glasses. It is. He did not hurt trees. He hurt people. He was not a nice guy. There are conflicting attitudes about city trees and vegetation, right? Some people think trees are bad, right? Because there are problems in urban settings where trees and vegetation can be a place for people like Freddy Krueger to hide, and when you're walking your dog, they'll come out and attack you. And we got to kind of convince people that that's just not true. It's just a fear that people have, and it's not true. So, just talking about crime, on average, there are 3,800 crime victims per 100,000 in the U.S., right? And among those minor crimes, there are less graffiti, vandalism, littering in outdoor spaces where there are natural landscapes. You know, people graffiti on the side of a building. They don't graffiti on the side of a nice park. So where there is a nice planted space, there's going to be less crime activity. Not just because the place is telling people not to do it or they're scared, it's because people are there. This is a populated place, there's going to be less crime. And that when there are public housing residents with trees, there are 25% fewer acts of domestic aggression in those areas where there are more green spaces for them to be outside. And that there are fewer crimes overall when there is higher amounts of vegetation. And this is one of those things that you give it out there as fact. You know, there are multiple components of why these statistics are what they are, but it's undeniable that natural land and trees add positively when they are there. All right. So some of the social strengths of trees. Urban green spaces, like I've mentioned this before, but they provide neutral space for people to come together, to talk, to have relationships with one another, and that they are just, they are there to give you the opportunity to meet and talk and live your life. Public parks are very important. And some of the individual benefits are improved health, social resilience, and social resilience are also potential positive outcomes. I'll get rid of that. Everyone's still with me, right? Yep. Awesome. All right. So people prefer natural over hardscape, right? You'd rather walk through a park than walk down run Route 6, right? No one's going for a walk down Route 6, right? No, unless the car breaks down. So a study found that urban residents dislike treeless, empty spaces. They exist, but no one likes them, right? And the addition of trees and grass dramatically changed their perception of those spaces. You have an empty lot, people are like, oh, it's an empty lot. No one likes that, but you put some trees and grass there, everyone's like, ooh, this is a fantastic spot.